Trust your intuition with stuff like this. Obviously, it's simple to say, meeting my dad, kind of knew that was going to be an unlock, but I didn't know it would be an unlock at the level it was. And I never would have been able to predict that if I didn't do it.
Have the opportunity to have courage, because I think if you pretend you're not afraid and you act all macho, which I think we've all been guilty of, you don't really face it because you think there's nothing to face. Oh, well, I'm not scared of that. Oh, no, I mean, no big deal for me. That is an ego response.
Next Level Nation, welcome back to another episode of Next Level University, where we help you level up your life, your love, your health, and your wealth. We hope together, Alan and I, we hope you enjoyed yesterday's episode number 1632, a powerful question I particularly wish I started asking myself earlier. Today, for episode number 1633, what's your next unlock? The reason I said I hope you enjoyed is because when I do podcast growth I hope you enjoyed. Sometimes I say we, though, because I'm just so used to saying it. You never know what's going to come out. So why are we doing this episode? As I referenced in yesterday's episode, when I go visit Alan, because Alan lives in the hometown we grew up in, that's where his home is, I oftentimes drive around to the street I used to live on, or places I used to go, or by stores I used to frequent, or drive by the gas station I used to work at, and it gives me a ton of nostalgia. I just get so much nostalgia. That's probably the best way to put it. But it's also like when I visit, every time I visit, when we're further into this journey and I'm more evolved and I know more and my relationship is more evolved and my friendships are more evolved and the business is successful and I'm more confident and my self-worth is higher, it's a little bit of a reset. It's a little bit of an unlock every time I go back. And an example of an unlock is just something that you do that maybe you know you should do that just breaks something free inside of you. It allows you to look at things differently. It allows you to reprocess information differently. It allows you to reflect with new awareness. The best example of this for me is when I was 27. I'll tell this story quick because I know we don't have a ton of time for me to go into depth. But when I was 27, I was at home in New Hampshire, 15 minutes from where I live today. I was going through Facebook, and there's a private folder for people who message you that aren't friends with you. And I didn't know that back then. I opened up the folder, and it was a message from someone, and it said, "Hey, Kev, I'm blank. I'm your father's girlfriend." And I remember I threw my phone on the floor, and I said, no, we're not going to do this. For context, I didn't know my dad. My dad left when I was young, and I didn't know what he looked like. I didn't know what his name was. I didn't even know if he was alive at this point in my life. So then I picked up my phone, and I said, all right, let's take a gander at this. Let's see what this is all about. And the message said, your dad has seen you on Facebook, and he's proud of you, and if you want, he would like the opportunity to meet you, if that's something you want to do. And I remember I fell on the floor. I was bawling my eyes out, because for most of my life, I never expected to have the opportunity to meet him. I said the only time I was ever going to see him is at his funeral when I pissed on his grave. Like, that's the level of hatred that I had for this man. I was not anticipating ever seeing him. And I ended up messaging them back and saying, yeah, let's do it. Not because I wanted to, but I knew it would be an unlock for me. And I messaged one of my friends, and I told them what happened, and they said, are you going to do it? And I said, I have to. I don't want to. I'm not excited. I don't want to do it. But I know it'll be an unlock for me. There has to be something under this. 27 years of this. And now I have the opportunity to go see what's created all of this pain inside me. There has to be something. And I went and did it. And Alan, I told you this, and I've mentioned this on the podcast, but I had empathy to a degree for the man that I looked across the table and saw, because he was just a child. He was just a child. He was very immature, not very well developed. And I don't mean that in a negative diss way. I'm not trying to diss him, but I had that moment where I said, oh, I should be the father in this relationship for sure. There's just no level of self-improvement. He just hasn't done that work. And that's the person that I've been villainizing for all these years. That's the person I gave so much power to. That's the person I let influence me for all these years. leaving that day, I was a different man. Something that, I don't want to say simple because obviously that's a challenging thing, but something like that 1 hour changed my life maybe more than anything ever has. That's what I'm talking about when I talk about an unlock. It doesn't have to be that big. It could be something smaller, but that's what I'm talking about in this episode. And the question is, what's yours? Do you have that thing that you know you should do? You can tell internally, if I did this, things could be a little bit different. Or if I messaged my ex and said, hey, I'm sorry the way things ended, or whatever it is for you. If I message my estranged parent, if I message my estranged family member, maybe something would be different. Do you have that? If so, maybe that's something worth exploring.
The thing that came up for me, Kev, is just the word courage. There's a book called Courage is Calling by Ryan Holiday that I read and I adored it. And I don't think that a lot of internal growth is possible without courage. It took a lot of courage to message his girlfriend back. It took a lot of courage to go to lunch with him.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember you telling the story about seeing him out the window and being like, oh, that's...
Just knew. That's him.
Knew.
Yeah,
That's
I don't
him.
know what he looks like, but I know that's him.
And I believe that all of us require courage in our life in order to grow. And this is known as getting outside your comfort zone. This is known as challenging yourself. This is known as embracing the suck, honoring the struggle, insert whatever cookie cutter phrase you want. But at the end of the day, life requires courage. And the simple notion that I need more courage. Even earlier today, I was on with a team member, and we took a bathroom break because it was a couple hours. And I had a moment during the bathroom break, I was like, I have to share something. And it took a moment of courage of, if I don't share this, I don't know what will happen to our relationship in the future, but I know I would have to dial myself down a little bit more in the future. I have to share this thing. And I think that everyone has different fears. But what I do know is the principle of whatever you're afraid of, it requires courage to face it. Are you afraid of going to the gym because you're afraid to be judged? Are you afraid of DMing that person that you're attracted to because you're afraid of rejection? Are you afraid of giving that speech because you're afraid you're going to get laughed off stage or fruit is going to be thrown at you? Vegetables, I don't know what people throw. I'm just being playful. But are you afraid to jump on the microphone? Are you afraid to ask that person, that big guest, for an interview? Are you afraid to message your ex? Are you afraid to admit that you weren't perfect? Are you afraid to face your trauma? Are you afraid to face your poor choices? Are you afraid to admit that you struggle with alcohol? Are you afraid to admit that you might have a drinking problem or a drug problem or a porn problem or insert vice here problem? Insert escape here problem. Procrastination problem. That's a big one. And I do believe that all of us will grow in proportion to the amount that we face our fears. I think that that's cliche, but it's true. And Kevin mentioned his dad. I had a stepfather from age 3 to 14 that I've talked a lot about, and my last name is actually McCorkle. My birth father's last name is McCorkle. I took my stepfather's last name, Lazaros, when I was, I think, around 7. I don't know the exact age. But I messaged him on Facebook recently, and there was something inside me that changed too. For sure. And it wasn't just a message, it was a let's get lunch. I want to meet you now, as the versions of us now. I'm not a little kid anymore. And I always use this on other podcasts, but I want to use it on ours as well. You can rewatch. I want to preface this because I know a lot of people struggle with memory. So assuming you have a really good memory, you can rewatch the movie of your own life from a higher sense of awareness. if you saw Finding Nemo when you were a kid and then you watch it again, you'll notice jokes you never noticed before. You'll notice lessons in there, moral, ethical dilemmas in there that you never noticed before. Oh, I never realized that was... And that can happen in your own life too, whether it's Kevin driving in our hometown, or it's you running into an old friend, or it's you facing your past in whatever way. And so maybe you're afraid of your past, maybe you're afraid of your trauma, maybe you're afraid of the future. I don't know what you're afraid of, but I do know it's going to require courage, and I don't think you can really just have courage on a whim. I think you have to choose it. I think you have that moment, and you have to sit there with it and go, okay, I'm afraid, and I know I'm supposed to do this thing, this hard road in front of me. I'm supposed to go there. I'm supposed to say that or do that. And I can either face that head on or I can avoid it. And I think that when you have the humility and the vulnerability to admit you're afraid, I think that's when you have the opportunity to have courage. Because I think if you pretend you're not afraid and you act all macho, which I think we've all been guilty of,
Definitely.
You don't really face it because you think there's nothing to face. Oh, well, I'm not scared of that. Oh, no, no big deal for me. That is an ego response where you're basically pretending you're not afraid rather than saying, I am afraid, but I'm going to have courage anyway. And I think that second one is always where all the growth is. That's where all the unlocks are, to the point of this episode. NLU listener, what is happening? I just wanted to jump in here and let you know, if you want to get to the next level faster, we have a free virtual monthly meetup at the first Thursday of every month, 6 p.m. Eastern Time. You can connect with like-minded people and become a bigger part of this amazing global community. The link to register will be in the show notes.
I think we run away from them too. I'll never forget. I was in a hotel room. I was traveling for work. I think I was in New Jersey. This was probably 2015, maybe. I don't know. I don't remember when it was. But I got a text message from a buddy of mine. He said, "Hey, I know you hate planes. I'm going to London in a month or a couple months, and the tickets that I'm going to book are like 50% off. You should come to London." And I remember thinking, no, I'm good. We're good. Not unnecessary. What's in London that's not here? We got McDonald's here. It's not a big deal. For me, at least. No, I'm not concerned at all. But I had that moment of, you're probably right. This would be a really good opportunity for me to do something that scares me. Even though I don't want to do it. But I think I believed at a deep level it would be an unlock. And that was the first time I had flown since I was 10, 11. That was the first time I had flown in 15 years.
Was it an unlock?
It was definitely an unlock. Yeah, to the point where I've told this before, and it's a joke, but Andrew, who I went with, booked the wrong flight home. He booked a different flight home than me and told me a different date. And I booked the same date as him, quote unquote, and he was wrong. So I had to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning. We stayed at one of his cousin's place. And I had to go at his cousin's flat, and I had to wake up, and I had to drag my luggage through the streets of London, and I had to get on the tube, and I had to take 3 trains to get to the airport, and I was pooping my pants the whole time, and I flew home alone. And that was the first time I'd ever done that. You want to talk about an unlock? That was a huge unlock for me, and here's the thing. I didn't have any option. What am I going to do, stay there forever? Or say, all right, I'll just pay however much to fly an extra tomorrow? No way. I don't think that was even reasonable, so I had to do it. But yeah, that was a big unlock for me, and I've flown by myself since several times, many times, which never would have happened. That never would have happened. There's the thing there that is going to help you become more expansive, but it probably feels super constricting. I asked a client that today. I said, what is something that you know would be very expansive if you did it, but you have to walk through the constriction to make it happen? And I said, just sit with that. Let me know. Intuitively, I don't really come with questions, but that's a question I wanted to ask you based on what we've talked about today. And it was a really good conversation because I think oftentimes, to your point, the pleasure is on the other side of the fear, or the expansion is on the other side of constriction, or the certainty is on the other side of uncertainty, or the answer is on the other side of the question. And intuitively, maybe you know. Maybe you know I've been hiding from this thing. Maybe you know I've been running from this thing, to Alan's point. That would be my next level nugget. Trust your intuition with stuff like this. Obviously, it's simple to say, meeting my dad, kind of knew that was going to be an unlock, but I didn't know it would be an unlock at the level it was. And I never would have been able to predict that if I didn't do it.
What would have been different if you didn't do that? And again, you can't know for sure, but... Because I think we don't show... Not we, but like the collective we don't always show what was on the other end of it. That's the other problem with self-improvement. It's hard to articulate what actually made it happen.
Yeah.
Okay, if you didn't go meet your dad, would you have had the courage to be with Taryn? You don't know. It's hard to know. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's why I think self-improvement is so hard. It's like, even when Emilia said the therapy thing, there's a part of me that said, well, why? There's no guarantee on the other side of this door.
No.
Maybe it doesn't do anything. Maybe it's a massive unlock. It happened to be a massive unlock. And I think the only way you know is in proportion to the fear. If I was afraid to do therapy, then that means the unlock will be in proportion to that.
And is it an unlock you want? That's another one.
But you don't know what the unlock will be in advance.
Well,
That's
no,
the problem.
But Taryn, since we started dating, she said, I want to go shark diving. I'd love to get in a cage and go in the water with sharks. And that's my biggest fear. Or like skydiving. No, I have no interest. I don't care what unlock is there. I genuinely don't. I'm not going to do it. I'm not interested. The shark diving in a cage, that's something I would do. For sure. I plan on doing that. That'd be cool. But I'm going to poop my pants. I'm going to poop my wetsuit. It's going to be a hot mess. No. I'm terrified. But I do think it's important. Is the unlock in alignment? I think that's another thing. Yeah.
With your goals.
Yeah.
How do you know which fears, I'm actually asking, how do you know which fears are important to face and which ones aren't?
The fear that's holding you back from the things that you know you want. Getting on a plane, if I want to be a speaker, I'm either going to speak in the state I live in or virtually forever, and I'm never going to get on a plane, or I never would have been able to get married in Colorado. So I don't even know what would have happened. I think we kind of know. You know if your fear is holding you back from accomplishing what you want. You know you do. You know. That's why it's so hard to do it.
But you don't know from what?
No, but you know from something.
Yeah.
It might just be in the bucket of better. I know it's holding me back from better. Am I willing to risk this fear to see what that better is? And then from that better, you get to see more. Oh, I'm not that afraid of planes now. Good.
That's exactly it. I'm trying to, and you and I do this in coaching all the time, doing this on this podcast right now. Everyone listening, think of a fear that you need courage to face. Whatever it is. It can be simple. It can be go to the gym, whatever. New outfit, photo, social media, whatever. The fear that maybe it's messaging your mom something, your dad something, your stepdad, whatever. Think of that fear. How do we encourage people to get outside their comfort zone, face their fear, have courage when we can't articulate what's going to come of it? What if it goes horribly wrong?
You'll still be grateful you did it, probably.
Most likely. Yeah. And that's why everyone has to decide for themselves, but it's very hard to connect. That's one of the things about inner work that always frustrated me. It didn't make any sense. Like, why? Okay, so I live in the northern part of the town we grew up in. I grew up in the southern part. I'm living in the northern part with Emilia. And that was actually a complete coincidence because we were house shopping for a long time, and this just happened to be one that I knew was magnificent. She adored it too. But I agreed with Kev when we moved to our next home, which we're already considering, we're looking and all that kind of stuff, it will be an unlock, but I have no idea how big. I have no idea what will come of that. I have no idea when we manifest, for lack of better phrasing, more of our goals and dreams. I won't know how much of that was correlated to that.
Yeah, no, that's true.
So I'll give it one more example. I have a friend of mine I was told, my conscience, my intuition, whatever you want to call it, my highest self, told me I'm supposed to go get lunch with one of my friends, one of my close friends growing up. And here's what I did. I went into my future and I said, Alan, would you regret it if you never saw this person again? And the answer was yes. I said, okay, what does that mean? Okay, that means you really should. You need to see this person. And then there's a part of me too that knows this is going to be important, but I have no clue why.
Yeah.
I think because we grew up together and it would be good to see how he's doing and to connect on that level. But I also think part of it is being the new me versus reverting. And I think another part of it is seeing the contrast that I maybe used to delete or not want to see or that kind of thing. Maybe it'll be good perspective for me. At the end of the day, though, it's very hard to know what's going to come of it. And I think that's one of the biggest problems with self-improvement and personal development is you just don't really know what you're going to achieve. It's not like you can say, oh, well, if you go to lunch with that person, you're going to be able to buy a new Tesla.
You just know you're going to be more.
Yeah.
You're going to be more, whatever that means. You're going to be more.
I think that's true. Yep.
I think that's the only way to...
And then what does that mean? It means you can achieve more.
You can achieve more.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you're going to be more.
You might not be able to... You're not going to be able to step from where you are to where you want to be, but the next step's going to be a little bit closer. That. You're just going to have a different perspective. You're going to be able to see more of the mountain. You're going to be able to see more of the land. Whatever. You're just going to have a different perspective. All right, we got to go because you and I both have calls in 2 minutes. If you have not gotten your tickets to Next Level Live 2024, do so soon. We're coming up on it. It's coming very, very fast. I can't believe we're already in the beginning of March. It's wild. We have the in-person as well as the virtual. Tickets will be in the link below in the show notes. Tomorrow for episode number 1634, Can Your Values Change? We talk often about core values, core beliefs, and core aspirations, which I think is a thing that Emilia lent to us. But as you get older, do your values change? Should they change? Can they change? Do you want them to change? We're going to talk about that tomorrow. As always, we love you. We appreciate you. Grateful for each and every one of you. And at NLU, we do not have fans. We have family. We will talk to you all tomorrow.
Live with courage. Next Level Nation.